Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to take a look at another one of the Dolphins' new offensive linemen, Jack Driscoll. I'm a very optimistic fan, so I've been hesitant to do a video on Jack Driscoll because I just don't know how it's going to be perceived. It's not that I don't think Driscoll is a quality player, but the Dolphins basically have an open competition for both guard spots, and I don't see him as a great option to be one of those starters. My hesitation with Driscoll started from the beginning. He signed a one-year deal worth a total of $1.79 million. The dead cap if Driscoll does not make the roster is $900,000. That might seem like a lot, but when you look at the other one-year contracts they signed for the offensive line, you have Isaiah Wynn, who has $1 million in dead cap, Robert Jones with $1.2 million in dead cap, and Kendall Lamb at $1.6 million in dead cap. Miami even had a couple defensive tackles who also signed for $1.79 million, and their contracts were fully guaranteed, meaning that if Miami were to cut them, they would take that full amount as dead cap. So I guess overall, what I'm trying to articulate is that Jack Driscoll's contract does not reflect that of a likely starter. I think that says a lot about what the Dolphins and other teams across the NFL think of Driscoll. Okay, my other hesitation, before even diving into the film, came from just some general knowledge of the Eagles roster. I live in central Pennsylvania, so I'm surrounded by a combination of Steelers, Eagles, and Ravens fans, and there's even some who admit to being Commanders fans. But those are the teams that get discussed locally. I think there's been a pretty good consensus among Dolphins fans that Driscoll should not be looked at as a tackle, and one of the heavy opinions out there is that Driscoll is a better guard than tackle. With the retirement of Jason Kelce, the Eagles seem to be comfortable sliding Cam Jurgens to center. So there's an open right guard spot in Philadelphia. If they felt that Driscoll was a solid guard, why didn't they pursue him as a free agent? I took that a little further and went back to 2020 when Driscoll was drafted, and the right guard position has been a revolving door for the Eagles since then. I'm not even sure who the starter was in 2020, but Driscoll only played 27% of the snaps, only good for eighth most on the offensive line. In 2021, he was the fifth highest snap taker on the offensive line at 43%. This was a season where he seemed to get a chance as a starting right guard, but ended up on injured reserve. In 2022, he was beaten out by Isaac Seumalo, who had a good season and cashed in with an Aaron Brewer type contract with the Steelers last year. Driscoll only played in 30% of the snaps that year, good for sixth most on the team. Then last year, 2023, the right guard spot was again open and was taken by Cam Jurgens, but Driscoll was also outpaced by Sua Opeta, who I'm guessing could be the projected starter in 2024. As you can see, I have some concerns with Driscoll being able to win a competition at guard because that opportunity has been there multiple times during Driscoll's time with the Eagles, and he just hasn't been able to win it. The other argument I see is that the Eagles' offense was not a good fit for Driscoll. Comparing the passing game between the Eagles and the Dolphins is night and day. The quarterbacks are obviously opposite ends of the spectrum in terms of their strengths. Both make it easier in pass protection, but in different ways. We know that in Miami, the ball is out as fast as any team, so they don't generally ask their offensive line to sustain blocks. The Eagles, on the other hand, have one of the most mobile quarterbacks in the NFL, which slows down their opponent's pass rush because an open escape lane can result in an easy first down or more. So in that sense, their offense aids the offensive line in pass protection as much as Miami does. And we'll get into some of that with the film review portion. However, there isn't as much contrast in the running game as you might think. When you look at offensive line play, sure, there's some variables in the different types of run schemes, but in my opinion, that's far more relevant when looking at offensive tackles than guards. Both the Dolphins and Eagles offense use quite a bit of zone concepts. Miami may use it to generate more play action opportunities, where the Eagles may use it more for true zone reads, but the concepts are still very similar. And what they're asking of their interior offensive linemen is similar as well. All right, you guys don't come to my channel to listen to me rambling on. You're here for the film review, so let's get started. For this video, I went back over 2 years ago when he was playing right guard, and like I said earlier, we'll take a look at pass protection, and that's what we're going to start out with. So you'll see what I was talking about earlier in terms of the defensive line not really pinning their ears back and trying to get after the quarterback. They're more so trying to maintain their pass rush lanes and not letting Jalen Hurts escape. So the Eagles offense really protected their offensive line in this sense that they weren't often asked to just block somebody one-on-one whose goal was really to get to the quarterback. On the next clip, we're going to see, again, the defensive line really isn't pressuring the offensive line that much, but Driscoll's still going to do a good job here of passing off the defender on the twist. On the next play here, we're going to see the defender really getting after the quarterback on a zone blitz, and Driscoll does not win this block and ends up resulting in the ball getting thrown away. On our next play, we're going to see Driscoll getting out on a screen and showing good athleticism to work in the open field and be able to track a secondary defender. All right, so now we're going to get into the run game. So on our first one here, we're going to have Driscoll pulling and kicking out to the right side of your screen. And this is not an explosive block, but it's still a good job of getting in position and preventing that defender from going to the inside, which is good enough in that case. On this one, we're going to get an inside zone to the left. And as you can see, Driscoll's not able to maintain that block. He could have gotten a little more help from Kelsey, but he's still got to be able to handle that one-on-one. Next one here, more of an outside zone look. And he does a good job of when the defender is slanting, that because Driscoll is technically sound, he does a good job of using their momentum to continue driving them out of the play. And that's what we're going to see on this next one as well. The defender's going to slant here, and Driscoll does a good job of using his momentum to drive him out of the hole. Same thing here, going to drive this defender to the outside, using that momentum to continue to widen that lane. On this one, we're going to get an option to the left, and we're going to see Driscoll struggling to get to that linebacker. And we saw that some in the Robert Jones film too. Not the greatest angle. He kind of sets up a little early, which allows that linebacker to scrape over top versus continuing to that play side shoulder and sealing him off. Here we're going to get another split zone look. Another good job of using the momentum of that defensive tackle. And then here we're going to get an inside zone to the right. And we're going to see that when that defender is not slanting, that Driscoll's going to struggle a little more in terms of getting movement. And this will be a defender basically two-gapping, getting that extension, and being able to slide off to be part of that tackle. On this one, he's not going to be able to seal this defensive tackle off. Well, he's able to get to a seal position, but he's given up more ground than we should be on that. The double team on the left with the center and left guard needs to be better, but Driscoll's given up ground on that cutoff block, and that's got to be better as well. Here is a play that Philly is very well known for, the tush push. And on this one, you can see that Driscoll struggles to generate movement on that. Here we're going to get an inside zone to the right. And Driscoll gets good precision. This is an okay block, but there's not really any movement there. Once that defensive tackle gets that separation and anchors down, Driscoll's not able to do much with him. Here we're going to get good movement on a double team. Probably should have been sliding off to get number 5. But when you drive a double team that far, not going to complain about that. And the next 2 plays, we're going to see Driscoll pulling to the left and leading up through the hole and looking like a pretty good athlete in space. Grabbed on a little bit there, but nothing wrong with that. And then I believe that this was the next play in that same game, running basically the same play. And again, you're going to see Driscoll able to get that skip pull and pull through the hole. Right, here we're going to have another example of Driscoll just not being able to get a ton of movement there. We got a double team starting out, and the right tackle slides off onto the linebacker. And once Driscoll loses his help, he's not able to seal that defender inside. That defender is able to, again, kind of 2-gap and choose which way he's going to go. Another example here of Driscoll being able to pull. And again, not a big block here, but this is still somewhat underrated in the sense that a lot of players struggle to be in good position, and Driscoll is very technically sound. So as he's pulling, he's staying close to the line of scrimmage here, so that by the time he gets to that block, he already has that defensive end sealed to the outside and doesn't need an explosive block there. On this next one, we're going to have a double team where Driscoll's kind of unable to take over that first level block. Looks like they're comboing to number 56, and that Lane Johnson is sliding off, and Driscoll is not able to continue driving that defensive tackle down to the inside, who ends up making the tackle. Inside zone to the left here, just not going to get much movement again. Similar to the other one, started out as a double team and wasn't able to continue any kind of movement. Going to get inside zone to the left here again. Not getting a ton of movement. And then on this one, we do get pretty good movement. I think this defender trips a little bit, but part of that is a result of getting some movement. Here we're going to have an outside zone to the left. He does a good job of taking over that block, allowing Kelsey to try to get up to the linebacker. And then on the final one here, this is going to be a zone read. And even though the ball wasn't given to the running back, this defender, again, was able to create separation and shed that block off of Driscoll and would have impacted that play had it been given. As you can see, it's a bit of a mixed bag in terms of the run blocking. Driscoll's a good athlete who moves well in space. He's technically sound and generally is in good position, which allows him to take advantage of a defender's momentum when they're slanting. But I can't get over how little movement he gets in the run game when a defender decides to anchor down or try to 2-gap and shed the block. When you project that to Miami's run game, the ability to create movement, especially on first-level defenders, is what creates the lanes for our explosive backs to find a lane, make one defender miss, and turning it into a foot race. So where does that leave Driscoll? Well, I believe that he's played both guard and tackle during his career on both sides. And while he hasn't played center, he's taken reps there in practice. And when I found some reports from when he was first drafted, some speculated that he could be an eventual replacement for Jason Kelsey. It's no secret that this team puts a high value on versatility. And that's what Jack Driscoll brings to the table. My vision for Driscoll would be as a primary backup on the right side of the line at both guard and tackle for 2024, and possibly becoming one of the top backups at all five spots after this season when Teron Armstead, Kendall Lamb, and Liam Eichenberg could all realistically be gone. Maybe I'm wrong. Honestly, I hope I am. I did a previous video on Robert Jones and why I felt he was a lead candidate for the starting spot at guard on this roster. So if Driscoll's a starter over Jones, then hopefully it means the Dolphin staff knows way better than I do, and someone even better is in the starting lineup. As always, thanks for watching. Feel free to leave a comment below, and we'll talk again soon.